Welcome. My name is Denis Oudendijk. This is Jan Korbes. We're from Refunc, which means refunctionalize. And I haven't seen the slides, but I probably know the project. What we do is we like to play around, and that's maybe one of our most social aspects of in this social architecture meeting. We like to play, and we like to play with people and to let people discover the fun of making stuff from other stuff which is thrown away by people who neglect it. So, for instance, this was a nice garbage bike, but it's a transport bike. It creates lots of fun. In where was this? In Durban.
In Durban, in South Africa. It's more about we react to what's around us.
Yeah, and you don't make what's the sausage?
Yeah.
This is this slideshow. Okay.
Yeah, well, you could talk about money and general streams and flows and boundaries, but sometimes for us the symbols are much more logical and simple to understand. And we were asked by a music festival to cover a very not interesting installation because the tent which was covering, they didn't like it, so we didn't like the installation either. So we made a covering from water tanks, but we wrote the message sausage in German,
Wurst,
which changed to the message Wurst in Dutch every 10 minutes, and nobody knew about it. Neither the people from the festival, neither the people with their installation inside.
It wasn't a demand, but also the tanks we used for this project, we used them from another project we did before at this festival. Oh, this is the money again. So we reuse our own stuff again and again and again.
And if you have almost no money, you can still make ideas fly.
Yeah, the same project, a landmark, they wanted a landmark at a festival, and we were also looking at the windmill turbines, and so we made it a sort of helicopter mobile unit. And we spent all the money on it. And we hoped they would buy it from us the next year, but they didn't, so we were stuck with it. So, but now we brought them to the Baker Foundation, where also 2012 has their playground.
And it's all about the perspective. Some people think so much from the human view for you can call it social interaction design, architecture and public space, but sometimes we think the perspective it's really the biggest thing what you should regard. It's for us to look at everything from a different angle. That's why we often say you should look at the world without a manual. Buy something, throw the manual away and start to look again what you have. So when you look from a bird's view, you start to make tree houses. And you see people doing totally beautiful things in countries where they cannot just buy a car roof carrier. And then we get inspired, and a lot of people get inspired. So we made a platform, a mobile theater performance platform for a French festival in Bordeaux.
Yeah, but that's also done within all the rules, because you were allowed to do this in private because you could take it off with 10 balls, I think.
So we found out that you can really play Mad Max in French public space without crossing any law. And then we always get asked about architecture because we work on the edge between architecture, design, technique and art. So I thought this is perfect architecture. It's the placenta of my daughter. It gives you the perfect insulation. It's the right temperature. It provides you with food. You don't need oxygen yet, but this is good architecture.
It's inflatable also.
It's inflatable, it changes its shape, it grows with you. There's no better solution. I mean, people should start to look from a different angle.
You shouldn't throw it away, actually. You should keep it all your life. And what's this strange hat you're wearing? It's my architecture.
This is your architecture now.
Yeah, well, this is about lazy architecture. So I wanted to make a floating village, and then I was looking for a boat, and then I found a capsule, which I could pay. And then it wanted to be a hotel, so it turned into a hotel.
And sometimes what I really like in architecture, if there's no architect involved. This is an example of Lithuania, which I traveled a lot and worked a lot. We did a lot of projects there. The neighbor finds some garbage in the factory where he works or steals materials. I don't know the background. And the other neighbor does the same. And suddenly they meet in the middle and make small storage houses with toilets where they put their tools and they end up living in it. And what's good architecture, for example, in Northern Africa, you make a hole in the ground and you have a sleeping room which is all year long 16 degrees. You don't need to do anything. Of course, it's tricky if you come home drunk. But
yeah, or when you're below sea level.
But I really like the example is when you enter this kind of village, you don't see anything. The closer you get, then the architecture becomes visible, and there's families and they grow bigger, and then you just make another hole with your children living in it. It's very local, but still, and that's what happens when you give us 2 old sea containers and a problem for an artist to work and live in it. This is in Den Hague, in surfing village Fast. It's temporarily inhabited by 1 or 2 artists, basically 12 months a year. And then you have art, which is the other side. We really think this is a bike lane in Vilnius in Lithuania, which is never used because basically nobody is using a bike. Cars are much easier to drive. But then the Russian street workers, they had to open the pavement and close it again, and I found the way they did it. This is real art, because I could never do it in that way.
It's a puzzle. I think you can move them.
If you're strong enough.
Yeah, you should take one out and then you can move them. But they're also, funny, if you go back, the people are walking on the bicycle path.
Exactly.
Which is on the pavement. And there's no bikes.
And Denise Dutch and I'm German, so we always have this crossover through mostly 4 or 5 languages. Because in Dutch you say een grapjas, which is a funny jacket. In German we talk about funny birds. Yeah, but when you walk around, this is in Latvia, and I couldn't believe my eyes. These ladies inspired me for actually years. I still use this image. It's about 5 years old.
Every lecture, I'm not even looking at it now.
And I don't know if they agreed in the morning, if they met before, if they're family, but it's too beautiful to be true. I mean, this is social architecture itself. It's just walking. And this is,
yeah, wishful thinking.
Yeah, this is where you see it hanging actually.
Look,
there.
the capsule.
Yeah.
I want this to be really a social architect, to live on this as my house. So, but this is, yeah. We only have the part on the far right.
So this is downscaling,
yeah,
upscaling. Yeah.
We already have this, but we need the rest. So we're going to do a collection right now.
And you're talking about small cities, so it's about scale. And then we found this on the internet, and we were not sure if it's true or if it's a joke or if it's recycling. Or, but
yeah, but this is really high.
So you've seen it.
Yeah.
Jan lives in Rotterdam. And it's about stacking. That's why I use this image, because sometimes you learn this when you're very small. You play with Lego, and you use suddenly blocks which are not made for stacking. And I really like the way the ships are stacked. We had a problem in Lithuania to solve a refrigerator recycling company. They had mountains of trash, of old fridges, and it looked really not very nice. So they asked us to use water tanks to make a nice decoration wall. And we used 800 fridges. We took away the doors, the cooling liquids, and we made a little fridge wall. And they already then had a new logo in it, which you see in the end, which is the Frixel. We invented the thing in between the fridge and the pixel. So at night it was illuminated, and it was made for, I think, half a year, and was standing in the end 4 years.
4 or 3, yeah. But it's made also in 4.5 days or so. That's with 6 people. So it's, and you don't have a design, of course, and on site you find, oh, what can you do with it? And most fun with this was that the environmental inspector, he drove by, because it's next to a highway, and he said, oh, what the fuck are you doing? And the guy director said, well, it's art. And, oh, it's okay. so that's why we were in between art and architecture, because art liberates architecture.
And the nice thing about this project, that in the end there was no trash involved. It was just part of their processing the fridges, so they were just parked in between, and they took it down, I think, last year, and they just put everything into the shredder as they always do.
So it's a closed circle.
Yeah.
So it's a signifier again.
And we like problems, especially when somebody comes with an issue. We don't want clients who give us the white paper and say start with the design. There is problems, a lot of them around. So you can look at them and analyze what are they made of. We call it listening to something. We ask things, objects, problems, what they want, what they don't want to be, and then you play. and then you come to different kind of results. And we find we reach our goal in the small scale if somebody sits on a chair like this, doesn't think, and while after you sit down, then you realize what you're sitting on, and I think then we did our job.
Yeah, so we research in how to reuse local material in architecture, and this was like a small garden house, but the most local of the trash we found was another garden house which is already standing there, and they're all chalets in Holland, in Dutch gardens, they're Swiss houses. So first we took that apart, and we made other beams from it, and it's actually, there's wood from the academy in it, and some old paintings being used for interior cladding. But the fun part was that we used the old door of the garden house, but we turned it upside down because there was a guy, had a family with a small kid, so the kid can watch his dad work. And actually, they didn't even want the garden house. They wanted to have like a higher bed in a room.
Yeah, she was pregnant again, and he was unhappy. He was afraid to lose his little working room in his apartment.
Was too small.
They asked us to make a high sleeper, and we said no. We
So
break down your house and we make a new one, just a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but now we created a problem actually, because now he can't sell his house because it's more expensive with this in the background.
And I was telling you how to look different. I'm not sure what you see. Does anybody see something which is different or remarkable? What do you see? Probably a car battery. I saw something else. I saw some object asking me, who are you? And I was really thinking about this. Who are you? And I see people in Holland having not enough space in their apartments, so they find really, really cute solutions where to park your boat.
They might be afraid also.
And sometimes things are unpredictable when we work with clients, which is a big variety. It can be city government or individuals or commercial companies. We are not sure about the results. We promise the client that we make a sketch and it will not be like that. It will be different. So these are breakwater blocks.
Yeah.
I think everybody of you knows here in Scheveningen or any harbor of the world, they use these big concrete elements to protect the land from big storms and waves. And we had the impossible mission to do a design in a public park next to a river in Holland. And because they wanted a 25-year guarantee from us to take care about the art piece we make.
Yeah, which concluded in we could pay someone 200 euros a month to go look at it, and there's nothing happening.
And the project budget is gone.
The budget was gone.
So Denis came with this great idea to not make in Dutch you call it onderhoudsplan, which is a caretaking plan, but we made a vergankelijkheidsplan, which is a...
I don't know this in English.
No? It's a vanishing plan.
No? Unsustainability.
Or, yeah, degradation. So we just said everything is allowed. We make an object which is allowed to disappear after 25 years. I think the best solution if it would be really gone after 25 years.
But here there's like a part of Refunc which you don't, because we don't always work with trash. Because we were asked to look at this site and if we could reuse the concrete which was there, but there was too many tar in it. It was polluted concrete, so we thought, well, we can't use this. Then we need a breaker on site. Then it becomes more expensive. Then we need to build a factory on site to build our blocks, which we still had to design, which were not in the budget. So we thought, well, if we wanted to go this way and to use big blocks, we can use a different as a different use, to Refunc as we call it. We went looking for existing designs which were already there, and then we found these X blocks from the BAM, and then we asked them also to sponsor it, to sponsor the transport. Otherwise, we couldn't not build this, and then we built it.
And I really like the interaction with the cows, which we didn't demand to come. But
it looks like a classic painting.
You got,
the other one.
Yeah, you got levels of this is Vermeer, Dutch painter. No. You got different levels. There's ships on the river passing by. There's the new elements, which looks like we are afraid the Russians are going to come next year. And then there's the cow and nature, and then there's humans going through, and we basically put them in the way that you need to find your way through. So it has interaction with all elements around.
Yeah, but you can nicely sit on them, and we let the BAM also make other ones which were flat. You have a picture of those? No. So we can use them as a bench. So this is where we decided not to recycle, but to reuse existing things.
And some people sometimes call it a workshop when you sit on a table and talk for 3 days. But we were thinking about that it's better to call that a talk shop, because that's what you do. So you can go to people and talk. So, but when you work, you should call it a workshop, which should look like this. That's what we do, for example, in Africa. You take some material and you work with people.
What's this then? A float shop?
It's a float shop, exactly.
Grow shop, maybe.
And the flow shop at night. Now it's for activating a river in Lithuania, which was not used in any kind of way.
Actually, what we do is, what I started to explain in the beginning, is we play around with material which is normally neglected, is being wasted, is readily available, and we are experimental in reusing them. And we try to implement them in any project we can. And we're copied, of course, but then you come to this really ego stupid thing that you want people to copy you, and then you get angry because they copy you, and then that's a sort of conflict which I have sometimes, which I should let go. So, but that's in this social part of design where actually you need to be copied. You need to be people need to use your knowledge.
Don't forget that every copy to anybody is a compliment.
Yeah.
And what we sometimes find out that people expect us, or they imagine we are ecological, but then we correct ourselves with basically just 3 letters, that we feel we are more logical than ecological. If we call it ugly style, somebody throws away an object, a chair, which he really doesn't find beautiful anymore, and the neighbor does the same thing, and then you just mix them, and they want them back. And the other one looks like this.
Yeah.
And what I thought about social design, that people talk about user-friendly products like cars, but what if the user is not friendly? Then you result mostly like this.
Yeah, but the question is, are those railroad parts for the crosses? No.
Yeah. And so this is a project we did for the Lithuanian government.
Yeah, it's really big. This is not Photoshop.
And they wanted a monument from cars.
Yeah. So we're finished like in 10 minutes, and it's really expensive.
We had to build a monument which expresses that people shouldn't drink and drive at the same time. So we used cars in which people died, which was rather difficult to deal with. But it's nice that they deliver you cars which are really clean, and but you see the impact of how people drive. And we built a church in front of the Lithuanian government, which was totally bizarre. That people
sponsored by a vodka company,
the biggest local vodka company. They were trying to encourage.
Yeah, it was fun to build, but then there came points that people knew, or no, their kids died in this specific car, and then it's still like emotional. Like people put the candle next to it, and you say, "Oh, this is not so fun. Actually, it's really serious."
And
fun.
This was a really lovely problem. Sometimes people ask you to come and join a small project, and I was invited to go to South Africa, where we used to work a lot. And this was in Mafikeng during the Football World Championships, and they had a stadium which they didn't use. It was just there. They built new ones, but this one just was maybe 50 kilometers out of way, or not new enough. So the city is smaller than the stadium itself, almost, and you have a few €1,000, and they say this is do a nice interactive art piece, and you look at the city scale, and you're really very, very helpless. So we decided the only thing you could do is use the construction of what you have. And the great thing in Africa, you can just play and try, and don't ask the people, you just do it, and you see what they do with what you did. And so we decided to make swings of size that you can put 20 people on. Of course, you end up with 50 people on the same object. But the great thing is that it's totally out of hand, unpredictable. It's real wildlife, and things go their own way. So we developed 3 swings in the end, and they're still being used in these days.
This is in the stadium.
This is the construction. This is outside of the stadium. I don't have the photo of the stadium now, but it's you use the whole construction as it is, and you just suspend things from what you find. And it becomes a public playground we made a movie theater as well. You just use what's there and you activate the space with almost no means compared to what you're looking at. And those experiments are great because you don't have any officials asking for drawings. You need to talk with the stadium director and have his trust that you're doing a safe thing. I mean, you can't risk people's lives. But you can directly go from an idea to action, and that's very beautiful to be able to do that. I mean, of course, every place on the planet has a different chance of that thing. This is in Poland, where space is much more available than here in Holland.
Yeah, we tried to get a sort of vortex with pallets. Oh no, fuck, this is the wrong one.
And what we discovered that we had 200 pallets and they wanted us to create an installation for children. The space was so big that we needed an excavator, a machine, to make a hill first, because without a little hill you would not be able to see the object. Of course, Poland is in between Germany and Eastern European countries like Lithuania, Russia, and you first need to go and discuss, and you go through I call it the German side of Poland, that the officials want to believe you and see what you talk about and that you have a responsibility and drawings. And once you're through that, you can play like in Russia. You just do it and you forgot what you discussed about yesterday. So it's a very beautiful double edge. If you know how to play the game, but I find it very nice. Of course, they put signs that it's forbidden to climb on it. And we made this is the officials, and the children still play on it already for 1 year. And then we were asked to continue with the same installation this year, and we had almost, well, 1 day before the project started, the material arrived because it was cancelled and there was suddenly zero budget. So we just decided to use the landscape as it is and create the space which was already there, just to mark it in a different way with pellets. And suddenly people come with their dogs, sit on it. It was quite beautiful. You almost do nothing. Everybody can bring their cushion. You could just sit on the grass itself, but people don't do it. And this is what I'm doing now. I lived in a caravan for a year and I found it rather small. So I asked a farmer who had an old silo in which he used to keep grain and animal food, and he brought it. And it's the question of perspective and capacities. So you can put a silo somewhere, find some materials, change it a little bit, try how many people you can fit in. On my birthday I managed to put 25 people in it. And
They're still there.
They're still there waiting, yeah.
There's no exit, there's only entrance in the
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
And that was just an illustration of what you could do. And this is the end of our lecture.
Yeah.